California Governor Gavin Newsom on March 17th, 2020, the Ralph M. Brown Act, California Government Code Section 54950 ET sequence, and the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act. This meeting will be open to the public. Seating capacity will be limited to the first 30 people on a first-come, first-served basis. Compliance with all health and safety guidelines, including COVID-19 screening, temperature checks, face coverings, and physical distancing measures will be required for in-person attendance. Meeting information is on the posted agenda. Remote public comment is also available for the City Council meeting by emailing the City Clerk at cityclerk@ciseries.ca US by 5 p.m. the day of the meeting. Include the agenda item number or public comment period in the subject line of the email. The clerk may read written comments into the record if specifically requested to do so at the beginning of your email. Your written comment will be distributed to the City Council and kept on file as a part of the official record of the City Council meeting. Welcome everybody to the City Council regular meeting today, Monday, May 24th, 2021. I call to order. Can we get the roll call, please?
Councilmember Rhino. Here. Councilmember Rivera.
Here.
Vice Mayor Condit.
Here.
And Mayor Lopez.
Here. Today's invocation is by Pastor Dick Connors from the Ceres First Baptist Church. Are you here?
I do not see Pastor Connors in the audience. Pastor Connors, if you're in the audience, can you please raise your hand? Whether in Zoom or in person. I do not see him as an attendee, nor do I believe he's in the audience.
Okay.
Mayor Lopez, let me see. Dave Pratt, I see that you're attending via Zoom. Would you like to give the invocation tonight? If so, please raise your hand.
I'm not one that does that kind of thing, so thanks for asking anyways.
Thanks, Mr. Pratt. Anyone in the audience would like to give the invocation this evening? All right, we'll just move on to the agenda.
Sounds good. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everybody. Today we have a presentation for Central Valley High School for its an athletic award. If we can please have the coaches and the students come in, please. Mic check. If we can have the coaches in the middle, then we'll have the students from the left and the right. Coaches right here behind this, and students line up left side and the right side, please. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. This award is a very special award. Not only did you guys accomplish a lot during this pandemic, but you put everything forward. So we decided to do a special recognition for everybody here today. I do really appreciate you showing up today. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the coaches. Derek Goblish, in honor of a Coach and Achievement Award. The City Council of the City of Ceres recognizes and congratulates you on your coaching achievements as head coach of Central Valley High School varsity football team. The city is proud to be represented by such an outstanding and remarkable leader who serves as a mentor and role model, not only to the student athletes, but their peers as well. Thank you. If I butcher your last name, I apologize. Uh, Matt Steenberg. Okay, there you go. Been coaching you for a long time. Still can't pronounce that last name. The City Council and the City of Sirius recognizes you and congratulates you on your coaching achievements as a coach for Central Valley High School varsity football team. The city is proud to be represented by such an outstanding and remarkable leader who serves as a mentor and role model not only to the student athletes, but their peers as well. Michael Parsons is not here today, doesn't look like. Okay, so what you want to just take his award then? Last but not least, Brian Borges. It says the same thing, but the City Council and the City of Sirius recognizes and congratulates you on your coaching achievements as a coach at Central Valley High School varsity football team. The city is proud to be represented by such an outstanding and remarkable leader as yourself, who serves as a mentor and role model to not only the student athletes, but their peers as well. Now we're going to move on to the students. I think what I'm going to do, instead of repeating it multiple times, I'm going to say it one time, and we'll start with the first person. The City Council and the City of Sirius recognizes and congratulates you and your athletic achievements. The city is proud to be represented by such an outstanding athletes and remarkable young leaders who serve as role models and inspire other students to reach their potential regardless of their surroundings. We're going to start off with Isaiah Hidalgo. Didn't show up either. Okay. Sounds good. The only one that didn't show. Here you go, Coach. Ruben Valenzuela, right here. Amari Taylor. Joseph Alamo. Oh, it's just one. Alexis. There you go. Fabian Lopez Garcia. Roberto. Where you at, Roberto? Felix Arellano. Angel Vega. Johnny Vieira. Last but not least, Nathan Diaz. Thank you once again. A round of applause. If you guys would like to say something, feel free. If not, you're dismissed. Thank you.
Good, thank you, guys.
Come on, Derek. Full speech. Borges, thank you, gentlemen. Small world that you come. First up. Move on. Thank you once again. We will continue on to citizens' communications. To the council and all matters not intended on the agenda, you only have 5 minutes. While the city council welcomes and encourages participation in city council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes. Resolution number 2007-106 for expression of non-agenda items, matters under the jurisdiction of the city council and not posted on the agenda, may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the city council from taking any action on any matters which is not posted on the agenda, unless it is determined to be an emergency by the city council. Citizens are entitled to address the city council on any agenda item subject to 5-minute provisions. Let's open up the Zoom for comments.
First person, Mayor, is Lee Brandt. Brandt, I'll mute your mic.
Thank you.
Your mic is unmuted.
Community Council. I hope this finds everybody well. I would just like to thank everybody who went out to Smyrna Park that did the cleanup, the beautification. And I'm so sorry that we missed it. And the only reason we missed it is because we completely forgot all about it until I saw Randy Meyer's post on Facebook, and we duly apologize for that. I would also like to make remarks about the loud fireworks that are going off. They're just booming, and it does seem like that it is in one particular area, or there is several areas that goes off, and it's getting old, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know if maybe the council can stand up and chastise or embarrass the people, to where they'll just stop it. I mean, because what are they trying to prove? It's getting really bad. And then along with the racing around town, I understand speed bumps are very expensive, but why don't we start putting in speed ditches? Dig a hole across and make them bounce through it. I mean, it's getting really bad. Where I live, there is a gutter that goes across the street, and I live a couple houses in. And what happens is they come off of Central and they accelerate right in front of my house and my neighbors. And some of them are getting really, really loud. I don't know if there is a sound ordinance as far as loud mufflers go, things like that. Maybe somebody needs to talk to the muffler shops here in town and say, hey, you know what? You got to stop installing these things, because I mean, it's really, really getting bad. But, all I can say is good luck, and I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person is Sheila Brandt. Ms. Brandt, I'll unmute your mic. Your mic is unmuted.
Good evening, City Council.
Unmute your mic, please.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Sheila. Go ahead.
Okay, I live on Haley Aloha, and I'm calling because I want to know what we can do about the people who park on Central Avenue on the east side. When you pull off of Haley Aloha to go on to Central, there's cars parked on each side of Haley Aloha along Central, and you cannot see if there's any traffic coming without pulling way into the street. I almost got hit several times last week, and they're driving so fast through there that you look and you don't see anyone. You look the next way, no one, and you start to pull out, and then they come flying past you. I don't know, like my husband Lee Brandt said, we do have that dip, which does cause a bit of a problem for the fact you kind of go down and you can't really see what's coming over the cars that are parked. But I don't know if we could do a three-way stop there, and then that would alleviate some of the racing up and down Central. I don't know. I am just so afraid we're going to end up having a major accident on that stretch right there. Thank you very much.
Next person with their hand raised is Ramon Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, I'll unmute your mic.
Yeah, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah. My concern is the 15-year-old kid with a special needs case. And I'm wondering if there has been an investigation done on these police officers. Because I read on the news that there's a misunderstanding, but still these officers that responded to the call needs to be held accountable for what they've done. And also to apologize to him and his family, because that put the family into a lot of ordeal, having to go to court and to have seen their son being sent to juvenile hall and having his ankle bracelet attached. That's still unfair, because there are a lot of studies that students, teenagers, especially they're disabled, of a ethnic background and of lower socioeconomic status, are most likely to be arrested and be sent to juvenile hall or deal with a criminal justice system that could affect the rest of their lives. And that's why the school to prison pipeline existed. And I think these officers are involved in this. And this is a little bit overwhelming for me, but I would love to see accountability, and that these officers involved needs to be disciplined and investigated, because we had enough hearing stories about police mistreating kids, especially with disabilities. And if these officers did file like a false report, they should be charged, because if that was a person filing a police report with false information, they get charged with crime. These officers need to be charged the same way. And also to John Osgood, who was present at the last meeting, shame on him, because that's bigotry showing on him, because he's upset the fact that council members are speaking Spanish to community members, and he's saying that it should be English only. Shame on him, because entire scene is white privilege being shown. And he needs to understand that community members who don't speak English have the right to hear their elected officials speaking in Spanish, just to be informed without having to be confused or what's going on, getting lost in English. And also, still, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now, but the family needs an apology. Israel Reese needs an apology from the community. And that the charges are still against them needs to be dropped, because that is unfair. That shows that the society, especially in Syria, doesn't care about kids with disabilities. The people need to know that we need to live in an equitable and dignified society, and that we need to end over policing, especially a kid with disabilities. Has to end right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no other hands raised in
I do have one request form, and if there's anybody else in the audience who would also like to speak afterwards, you're welcome to speak after this person. Melissa?
Thank you for seeing me again. You guys all know who I am, Melissa Newsom, 1709 Hackett Road, concerning the no cop, no stop. Just wondering if there's been any updates on anything. I've emailed Chance Condit, but I haven't heard back from him. So I don't know if anything's happening by chance. Mr. Westbrook.
Yeah, Mayor Lopez, I think City Engineer Padilla has an update.
Thank you, Melissa, for bringing your concerns to us. So we have Public Works staff has been working with engineering department, and not sure if you got a chance to drive out there and see the traffic study that we're conducting with the traffic hose on Blaker and Don Pedro. So we're actually studying the Blaker and Hackett corridors and seeing what we can do on those entire segments, not just at the intersection. Because at the intersection, it's a stop sign controlled intersection, which which there's not much more we can do at that intersection. If citizens are not obeying, traffic control devices, that's not an engineering or public works.
80% of them don't stop.
So we are going to be installing in the next couple weeks a three-way stop sign on Blaker and Don Pedro. So that will help slow cars down on Blaker.
Mhm.
We've studied in the past Hackett and Ferris,
Mhm.
and stop signs weren't warranted there. And we're going to be studying Georgian Place in Hackett to see if we can install three-way stop signs at that location.
Okay.
And also with our federal Blaker, we're overlaying Blaker and Central, Blaker from Hackett to Whitmore. We are going to be installing the ladder crosswalks. I think I mentioned to you when we first spoke a couple months ago. We're going to be installing ladder crosswalks. Those are the crosswalks that have yellow stripes, vertical and horizontally through the crosswalk. And we also are going to be installing LED lights, solar-powered LED lights on those stop signs as well. So we're studying the area, those corridors, more comprehensively, not just at that intersection. So I can follow up with you a little bit more tomorrow if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. And just curiosity, is so on the overpass here in Ceres, are you guys putting a roundabout right there? Mr. Westbrook,
Yes.
you guys are? Can I ask out of curiosity why?
I
And
can.
I'm just curious why certain roundabouts are in certain areas. Like there's one behind the Rusty Nail Bar, which makes no sense. I mean, honestly, the drunk people go there and they just go in circles because they don't know what the hell they're doing. But I mean, why the roundabout right there? And I'm having to fight to get stuff done by school in a park.
I'll follow up with you tomorrow to discuss that. I would prefer to follow up with you one-on-one so we can discuss that.
All right, and you still have my phone number and information?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Is anybody else who would like to speak, please? Come on up.
Yeakley series. Boy, they just get better at each meeting, don't they? I wanted to say, I just heard some comments here. I want to tell Lee Brandt that's probably listening. Lee, you've been to a lot of meetings. I've seen you many times. And I like the things you have to say about trying to improve the city. And I'm all into all those things myself in certain areas. But Mr. Brandt, this is what it's like living in Ceres. Short things get fixed and long-term things have been around, stay the same, pretty much. The last city council meeting, I've never seen, out of all the times I've been to council meetings, I've never seen anything go like it did, what was that, the 10th? I was so upset to know that people attack people on things. And one of the things that really bothered me the most, I'm sure that young man has some issues and his family's very concerned, but that lady didn't explain everything. She didn't tell the people that she was attacking and her friends and all these other organizations. Nobody once explained the details of what exactly happened in full. So that leaves everybody to go like a vigilante committee and attack everyone at any time they want to without knowing all the facts. And that's what we live on usually, the facts of life, the facts of everything. But you got the facts, then you can sort stuff out. But evidently a lot of these people didn't sort stuff out. They did it on their own and became just what I said, their own vigilante committee. I think Diane gave you some of those things. I want to let everybody in the city. I made that particular little sign back in 2017, put it in the series Courier. I think Diane's trying to get in a series Courier, hoping that somewhere in the editorial the following week or so, I'd hear something about it, but I never did. And I want to thank Gary Condit for taking out the 2017 for me over the weekend. But I wanted to read that. It's kind of big there, but I wanted to read it, and it means a lot. And as I was talking before to Councilwoman Silvera and Mayor Lopez and some other people in the council about how important it is to take care of your veterans and honor and respect them, and that you don't know that your neighbors that are living next door, or their son or daughter or mother or father got killed trying to, what we as Americans try to control the peace in the world. So at the very top of that, it says, I did all this myself, I had no help with the words or nothing. Duty, honor, country, Memorial Day. I was a son, daughter, brother, sister, cousin, nephew, niece, friend, and neighbor. Have you forgotten us? From afar, I see people who believe this day, this weekend, is a time for picnics, drinking, and vacations, a time to celebrate the coming of summer. No, it's a time to show your real colors and show respect to those fallen veterans who gave you the gift of being an American. That gift is freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? Diane, do we have any emails? Doesn't look like we have anybody else on Zoom, correct? Okay, the public comment period is now closed. There is no appointments. Does the city council have any declarations of conflict of interest? No. Moving on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by one single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. Is there anyone on the council that would like to a consent item pulled for further discussion? We'll begin with Councilmember Rhino. Item 11. Vice Mayor Condit.
5C and item 7.
Okay, those are the items that are pulled. And if we can get the council to make a motion on the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5A and B, items 6, 8, 9, and 10.
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Silvera,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. We will start off with item number 5, general correspondence information only. Information report regarding Assembly Bill 43, introduced by Assembly Member Friedman, Ting, Chow, and Kirk regarding traffic safety.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask the council if we feel comfortable sending a letter of support. This bill is currently in the Senate Transportation Committee, received 65 votes and passed the Assembly, and likely, hopefully, will pass the Senate too. And again, this bill gives us flexibility and allows us not to follow state mandated guidelines for speed limits, to increase those speed limits every couple years after surveys. So I think it's a good bill, and I hope my colleagues agree.
Councilmember Rhino.
Mr. Westbrook, do we have a policy in place right now for letters of support on assembly bills that come through from the league?
I believe that there may be a policy. Typically, we get requests that come through the League of California Cities, but it's up to the council if they wish to submit a letter of support for a bill.
And what is the direction of the council? Are we okay with sending a letter of support from everybody?
Honestly, I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking if you guys are okay with sending a letter of support to support this bill. It would allow us to reduce some speed limits that we've had to increase, like on Central Road, the issue that Mr. Brandt and Miss Sheila talked about. And I think it would benefit our city.
Yeah, I can support that.
I can support that as well.
Thank you.
Member Rhino?
Although we generally wait for it to come through the league, I could support it as well.
Don't worry about the button. You're good. Thank you. Has it come down through the league? I have not seen it. Have you?
At this point, I've not seen any letters of request of support for this specific bill
Okay.
at this
And
point.
so you said that it was passed, Vice Mayor, through the Senate first already, or?
Pass the Assembly. Now it's in the Senate. It's got to get through the Senate, come back to the Assembly,
Okay.
then go to the governor.
And this will help the cause by us sending a letter.
Yeah, saying that this will benefit our municipality, which I think clearly it will.
And I think it's a good bill because I remember when we went through the process and we had to adopt the speed limit. We were raising speed limits because when when the police department put out their speed signs, it showed a certain percentage of people, because they were going faster than what the posted speed was, that in order for us to be able to ticket them, if they went even faster, that we had to up our speed limits, which to me is really ridiculous. It's like we are encouraging people to speed rather than make them go the speed limit that they should be going. So I think it's great and I hope it passes.
Yeah, I think one of the provisions of the bill, I think as Vice Mayor mentioned, is the ability to account for pedestrian and bicycle safety, where that wasn't a measure before. So now that's included in the metrics for potential reduction. So we can send a letter.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Diane, that would be something that you could work with.
Do we need a motion? I'll make a motion that we send a letter of support for AB 43.
Second,
Get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Rhino?
yes.
Councilmember Silvera?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit?
Aye.
And Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Moving on to number 7, resolution number 2021-43, awarding the construction contract for the River Bluff Reservoir and Pump Station project to Garney Pacific Incorporated, authorizing a 10% contingency and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager, I just wanted to go over this project a little bit. This is related to our surface water treatment plant out on Fox Road, correct?
Yes, this is a terminal tank. So when the water is cleaned and extracted from the river, it'll be sent down a pipeline down Hatch Road. And then that water would go into the tank that is being considered for award tonight at River Bluff Regional Park.
And what's the cost of this?
I believe the project cost is right around 9.8 million with another $980,000 worth of contingencies. So it brings the project just under 11 million total.
And that's out of our water enterprise fund, correct?
That is correct.
And we have the money to pay all that up front?
Yes, we do. It's been programmed into the CIP budget. There was $5 million allocated in this current budget. The next budget has an allocation of another 6 million for 11 million total.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? That's it? We guys want to make a motion to move to approve?
Yeah, I'll move to approve item number 7.
Second.
Get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Rhino?
Yes.
Councilmember Silvera?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit?
Aye.
And Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Moving on to item number 11, resolution number 2021-46, approving the sole source of purchase of a breathing air compressor and fill station for fire station number 17 training facility.
Mayor.
No problem.
The breathing air compressor and fill station is for the training facility. I'm not sure who I'm going to ask to. Okay, DC Serpa.
Yeah, Battalion Chief Serpo will answer the questions.
So that's what it's for, is the training facility.
That is
correct?
correct.
And as part of the agreement for that training facility, it said that the training equipment and supply management was Ceres and Modesto funded. So I'm wondering why and who determined that Ceres alone should pay the $86,652.12 if it's funded by Modesto and Ceres. That's my first question. My second question is, as you know, tonight there is a discussion item for regionalization with a recommendation, I believe, by staff that June 14th, we would have a contract to discuss before us for regionalization. So I'm wondering why 3 weeks before the possibility that there will be a regionalization, why we're being asked to spend $86,000 out of the Ceres funds. I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am. First question, why do we need this compressor? We are responsible for the logistical support of the training facility.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We're responsible for the logistical support of the training facility. This is a one-time cost, and it's coming out of a already approved phased project funded by developer fees from that specific area, actually. So again, Modesto is responsible for the ongoing costs of personnel, which are the higher of all of the costs associated with that training facility. We are asking you for a one-time cost that's already been approved in the capital project funded by developer fees. So this is not coming from any city general fund. This is strictly coming from developer fees, and that is generally what they're for these capital type projects. Secondly, your second part of your question is why right now? We are moving forward with this this phase 1 capital project to improve this facility. And that, again, that is what these developer fees were structured for, so that these one-time costs associated with the first project being the pavement out at Fire Station 17, this would be the second project out of that phase 1. We have one additional project that will be coming from that phase 1 funding that was already approved in the 2021 budget. So again, one-time money and not affecting the general fund. I hope that
Okay,
answers your
well, when
question.
I'm looking at Exhibit A, though, it doesn't spell out exactly how you said who's responsible for what. What it says is training equipment / supplies management, Ceres and Modesto funded. So to me, that would be supplies. And if I look at that, it looks like, you know, at the very least, that the cost would be split. And again, it just seems to me that it's not really a good time, that if in 3 weeks there is a possibility of contract, why I don't care that it's in the CIP. It's just the fact that we're being asked to spend almost $87,000.
Correct. If you look at item B, under the training division scope of services, training facility is under number 1, subline under that. Ceres will provide the facility and the grounds located at Station 17 as this training facility. So that is part of the facility that we are responsible for. And then under that is number 2, Exhibit A. Under Fire Station 17 would be that breathing air compressor fill station.
Well, we must be looking at something different. I'm looking at what,
This is the MOU that was signed August 1, 2019.
right? The one that I received from the city manager, it says it's a draft. So I don't know if it's worded differently, but again, I'm looking at Exhibit A.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a pretty simple question. If we buy this thing, it's going to be property of City Series at some point, right? And if this
It
whole,
will be installed at Fire Station 17. It's not something that can be moved. It will be installed by the vendor with the station electrical modified by our own building maintenance department.
second thing is this to fill SCBA tanks mainly? Is that correct?
That is all it does, is it fills the SCBA bottles accordingly.
Thank you. I'll move to approve number 11.
Second.
Councilmember Rhino,
No,
Councilmember Silvera,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1.
Thank you. There's no unfinished business. Moving on to public hearing. Item number 12, public hearing to consider introduction of ordinance and first reading of ordinance 2021-1066, amending in its entirety chapters 1 and 2 of Title 6 Health and Sanitation of the Series Municipal Code, which includes the addition of the following sections: 6.01, 150C, violation penalties; 6.01, 160, illegal unauthorized dumping; 6.01, 170, collection cart contamination; and 6.01, 180, special collections. Jeremy?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Tonight, we're here for the public hearing to adopt changes to Title VI of the Municipal Code. In the audience in Zoom land, we have Joseph Rasmussen and Kara Morgan with Cal Recycle, and Tony Cordell's sitting behind me with she's the administrative analyst who's responsible for all the research and analysis put to update the ordinance and the agreement with Bertolotti. So the first slide is the assembly bills that we are challenged with. Assembly Bill 939 is a 50% jurisdictional diversion. AB 341 is mandatory commercial recycling with the state goal of 75%. Assembly Bill 1826 is the mandatory commercial organics recycling goal of 50%. AB 1594 is the landfill alternative, and Senate Bill 1383 is the 50% reduction in organics by 2020. Assembly Bill 939 is the California's Integrated Waste Management Act, which enacts all cities, counties, and regional solid waste management agencies responsible for diverting 50% of the waste each year. As you can see, we are at right about 15% over the last 4 years average. AB 341 is the mandatory commercial recycling, which requires businesses, including public entities, that generate 4 cubic yards or more of solid waste per week to arrange for recycling services. So business can there's a combination of ways they can do this. They can self-haul, they can subscribe to a hauler, they can arrange for the pickup of recyclable materials, and they can subscribe to a recycling service. The avenue of self-haul is not new to the city, but it does now come with some challenges with the state for reporting purposes. So one of the sections in the ordinance kind of adds language, cleans up some language to where the business owners have to fill out some forms and go online, just document what they're doing. AB 1826 is the mandatory organics recycling. So it phases in the mandatory recycling of commercial organics over time. Beginning in 2019, requires businesses that generate 4 cubic yards or more of solid waste per week, to arrange for organics recycling services. And organics waste means food waste, green waste, landscape and pruning waste, non-hazardous food waste, food soiled paper waste that is mixed in with food waste. Senate Bill 1383 is the short-lived climate pollutant reduction strategy. It was enacted in 2016. It requires Californians to reduce organics waste disposal by 75% by 2025. It requires the state to increase edible food recovery by 20% by 2025. Has significant policy and legal implications for state and local jurisdictions. Regulations take effect and state enforcement begins in January of 2022. And local governments must take enforcement against non-compliant entities in 2024. Senate Bill 1383 also stipulates the implementation of residential organic waste recycling programs and makes local jurisdictions directly responsible for the following. So providing organic waste collection to all accounts, establishing an edible food recovery program, conducting outreach and education to all account holders, procuring recycled organic waste products, establishing all required enforcement protocols that include a schedule of fines and for non-compliant entities. AB 827 requirements were added to existing language for AB 341 and 1826, and that was passed in 2019. So effective July 1st of 2020, covered businesses must provide organics and recycling containers for customers to collect waste generated from products purchased and consumed on the premises. Containers must be placed adjacent to trash container and be visible, easy accessible, and clearly marked. So it targets businesses that sell products meant for immediate consumption. And full service restaurants do not have to provide properly labeled containers for patrons, but must provide properly labeled next to trash containers for employees to separate. Where we are today is we adopted a new rate structure in January of 2021, and we are in the process of implementing the 3-cart collection system, education and outreach development, and information gathering and policy development on managing the program. So the next steps for us would be to adopt the municipal code. Once the code has been adopted, the franchise agreement with Bertolotti gets updated at that point. We would have an aggressive education and outreach campaign, website, social media, direct mail, TV, radio, advertisement, community presentations, events, and then the compliance and enforcement program for maintenance and customer engagement, as well as monitoring and reporting requirements to CalRecycle. The 3-cart collection service looks something like this. Currently there are black carts, gray carts, green carts, and blue carts out in the field today. So working with Bertolotti, first thing we really need to do is go through and have an understanding of what's out there, who has what. Then the black and/or gray cart becomes the garbage can, which is garbage and rubbish. The blue cart becomes recyclables, cardboard, paper, newspaper, aluminum cans, glass bottles, plastic bottles, and jugs. Then the green cart becomes lawn trimmings, grass clippings, shrubs, weeds, leaves, garden and tree prunings, food waste, food soiled paper. Organics collection services, all current residential customers are paying, and it's included as part of the rates for the green can. Depending on the quantity of organics generated at a location, pickup frequency may be increased for commercial accounts. It just depends on the account holder. It could be a fast food restaurant per se, as they need more than 1 pickup per week. And we do have that service available now as part of their garbage customers. Then for businesses who generate larger quantities of food, we have larger bins. So it's not just going to be the 90-gallon toters. It's the 2-yard bins up to 6-yard bins, I believe. And these are the rates that are in place today, with a little bit of an increase in September of this year to put the green cans, the organic bins, the green toters will start to be delivered sometime September, October. We have to work it out with Bertolotti a little bit on the method as to how they're going to get delivered. They need to be stickered. You got to put stickers on the cans just to kind of display what goes in each can, and then identify who has what and try to get that straightened out as well. Cart contamination enforcement. So Assembly Bill 1826 requires the city to conduct regular and biannual waste assessments to determine contamination. Contamination occurs when materials are disposed of in the incorrect container. For example, if you're putting recyclables in plastic bags before placing them in the blue collection cart, the plastic bag would be considered a contaminant because it is not considered a recyclable material. So it's dictated in Assembly Bill, Senate Bill 1383. The city will conduct waste assessments throughout the city. We'll pick random cart sampling at 40 locations from various areas throughout the city on a biannual schedule. The materials collected will be consolidated and transported to a disposal facility for evaluation and determine the overall contamination levels based on methodology outlined in the legislation. So in theory, we're going to send a truck out. We're going to give the driver 40 addresses. They're going to go throughout town. They're going to pick up those 40 addresses, put all that trash into the packers, take the packer to a facility, dump it, and it gets sorted and diverted there. And then we get an analysis based off of organics, garbage, whatever's in the can, what that diversion actually is. So that helps us target our education and outreach programs. Illegal disposal enforcement and penalty provision. So a penalty provision has been included to supplement the costs associated with remediation activities and to provide a mechanism for enforcing compliance with illegal disposal activities. As you can see, over the past 4 years, the illegal dumping has gone up considerably. And that taxes its code enforcement very hard, as well as our own staff. Because what code enforcement, so Bertolotti can pick up everything that's been established as or identified as an illegal dump on the right of way. Anything that's not on the right of way, the city's street staff picks up. The seasonal leaf and limb program. So the proposed update to the municipal code shall include a change of service for the city's leaf and limb collection to reflect seasonal schedule that is from October 1st, ending on January 9th of each calendar year. So the proposed revisions to the municipal code. So service and rate changes associated with the introduction of a residential 3-cart solid waste service. Enforcement and penalty program for collection container contamination violations. An enforcement and penalty program for illegal disposal. Establish a seasonal schedule for leaf and limb, and establish the city as the enforcement authority for compliance with the state and federal mandates. So the penalties are penalties for scavenging, pilfering activities, adds penalty fine not more than $500 for scavenging activities. This is finding someone going through somebody's trash can per se. Illegal dumping and disposal as a tiered penalty fee structure. So the first one's a warning. We have the ability to issue courtesy notices as well. So it'd be a courtesy notice warning, second 25, 100, and 250. Any infraction after the 4th offense within 1 calendar year will remain at the 250. And this is in line with our structure for water conservation as well. Collection cart contamination as a tiered penalty fee structure identical to illegal disposal as shown above. And additionally, a provision for habitual offenders, which allows for, at the discretion of the director and or his or her designated representative, city attorney to prosecute such violations as a misdemeanor. The illegal dumping and disposal does include the green waste, for example, the grass clippings that are in the street. So these are the actual municipal code chapters, that the sections that are being updated. So 6.01.020 amends the existing code to accommodate the 3-can system and enforces the number of collection containers necessary to remove the materials. 6.01.030 amends the existing code to clarify restrictions on collection cart storage to prohibit visibility from public view other than when placed for collection. So this section is just reiterating that the carts will be out of sight. Go ahead.
So under that section, 601.030C is the one about the visibility, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you read it though, it says, at all other times, collection carts shall be kept and maintained at a location upon the premises on the side yard of the house, outside of the front yard setback adjacent to the house. Collection carts are not permitted to be stored in the driveway, in front of the garage, in front of the house, or any other location visible from the front of the premises. So the second part says you have to keep it out of view, but the first part I read said you could put it on your side yard as long as it wasn't in the front yard setback. So it's contradictory, I believe.
I think the, the premise here, based upon the goal-setting session that the council had in March, was to bring back something with flexibility. If the council's desirous to have them be prohibited from public view, then we'll alter that code language that contradicts and just simply make it necessary for these to be stored behind the fence or in a garage and not visible from the public street.
Okay, so the way it reads now, it doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
So you're going to be asking us for direction, which way do we want to
Yeah,
go?
we'll certainly need direction on that specific point.
And 6.01.090 amends the existing code to clarify protocols for delinquent accounts. 6.01.100 amends the existing code to extend enforcement authority to the Director for enforcement of the provisions of this chapter. 01.100 adds a provision for inspection of the premises to determine compliance with sanitation standards. This gives us the authority to, should a garbage can, we have a lot of issues where the lids aren't closing. And when the lids don't close on a can, what happens a lot of times is as the trucks come through to pick that garbage can up, a lot of the trash is being thrown on the ground. And this gives us the authority to go to the trash can. This isn't necessarily going on somebody's property. This is going to the trash can because trash is considered personal property. This is what that does. It gives us the authority to just identify the trash can. It gives us the ability to notice the resident or the homeowner, business owner at that point.
Jeremy, is that going to be a part of the educational platform? Where
Yes.
you tell the, because I mean, obviously we all probably have done it ourselves, but over time, I think people need to get used to doing that.
Right. There's going to be a lot of education coming out in the next 6 months. A lot of material. And then 01.150 adds a penalty for enforcing the pilfering and scavenging. 01.160 adds a provision for illegal and unauthorized dumping and establishes a penalty and enforcement program to address the violations. So this gives the Public Works Department the ability to, as you saw in the previous slides, to go after the illegal dumps, fine them, start the warning process and start the process with them directly and hopefully alleviating some of the issues that code enforcement's having. 01.170 adds a provision, cart contamination, and establishes a penalty and enforcement program to address the violations. 01.180 identifies special collection services and program criteria for the leaf and limb bulky item collection programs. And 02.010 declares restaurant facilities responsible for adhering to stipulations outlined in the state and federal regulations. And with that, we'll take any questions you have.
Councilmember Moreno?
On your presentation, you talked about the recyclables and if you put paper to your recyclable, like a trash bag, that's considered contaminated. So instead of some people, they get their mail, they're going to throw junk away. They'll throw it into, say, kitchen trash bag and then throw that whole thing into the recyclable can. But you're not supposed to do that because that bag is considered contaminated.
Well, and it's considered contamination largely due to a processing facility that takes the material. It's because of the machinery that's used. Plastic bags actually are an issue. It's not necessarily that plastic itself is not recyclable. It's just that the facilities that we take our recyclables to don't accept it. So
So does that create another problem if people aren't bagging all those little pieces of paper that when the garbage company picks it up and it dumps it, or is all those little pieces of paper going to go flying or not?
I'm sorry, are you referring to like junk mail, that type of paper?
Yeah, when you get junk mail, I mean, I throw mine into the recyclables. I don't throw it in the garbage.
So the goal is to actually have paper products put into the organics can. Just for clarification, when we say organics is not just the green waste, like in the yard waste, but it's also paper products and food soiled paper products, like your paper that from if you get fast food, the wrappers and such, as well as food scraps as well. So
Right.
that will be for the green part. So that would actually go in that container. And then
Right, but I'm talking about junk mail. I mean, do you throw that into your
it would be in your organics can now.
your junk mail? I'm not talking about food plate.
Yeah, it's all biodegradable. Paper is considered an organic material, so that would go into that cart. Your blue cart would be namely for CRB materials like bottles and cans and beverage containers and whatnot, plastic jugs.
Thank you.
I just wanted clarification. The state starts enforcement next year in January.
So just for clarification, each of these regulations, and there's 4 of them that we've listed, they've all have had different deadlines. The mandatory commercial recycling actually was enacted in 2012, and so it should actually already be in place. The mandatory commercial recycling and the mandatory organics legislation is directed at businesses, but the latest, the SB 1383, I think, the short-lived climate bill expands on that largely, and there is a portion of that that is directed at the residential collection, and that's really the component or the legislation that's affects our 3-cart system changes. The municipal code changes are not just a reflection of those, but as well as some to address some of the issues we've had, again, with the illegal dumping and the grass clippings and those issues too. We hope that by having the organics cart, that will resolve some of those issues, because simply for having a place to put them at this point. So it's a combination of not just the legislation, but to address some of the issues that we have going on here too as well.
And the state's going to start enforcement
Each of
this
the
coming January.
for the SB 1383 requirements, yes. But I'm sorry, we're required to have our programs in place by 2022. I believe the enforcement begins in 2024. We do have some CalRecycle representatives online too. If you'd
Yes,
like
if
to-
they can add anything, I would just like clarification on when the enforcement actually begins.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we need to release.
Carol Morgan, can you chime in on that one, please?
I can, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Great, excellent. So yeah, just to add, yeah, CalRecycle, as you noted, can begin enforcement starting January 1, 2022. Jurisdictions are required to, if needed, start conducting enforcement in 2024. The intention was to give 2 years of time to educate folks, but also I'd like to emphasize that, we really anticipate that cities and counties will not have to implement much enforcement since residents and businesses are being provided the service. That's a big hurdle that's already being overcome. So let me know if that answers your question.
Thank you. I'm a little confused why you say the service is provided for them. I mean, if someone's not sorting their trash correctly, they can get fined. And that's my concern is a lot of folks don't sort their trash, and they're going to end up getting fined.
So I'll just add clarification. The regulations don't require fining a generator if they contaminate their material. The regulations allow a jurisdiction to choose that as an option, but it's not required in the regulations. The educating generators, but certainly if that is something that a jurisdiction chooses to do, it's certainly allowed, but not required. Did that answer your question?
Yes, that did. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Councilmember Randall?
But then that brings up the question that Mr. Brandt brought up previously, that he has a neighbor who dumps their garbage into his can when it's out front. So if the city comes along and does an audit and they happen to pick his up, is he going to be, how is a resident going to be assured that they're not going to be fined because some neighbor is putting the wrong stuff into their garbage can?
So the audit itself is actually an anonymous audit. What's going to be done with the different samples that are taking, actually that all of that material will be consolidated. It's just based for an analysis, and that is part of the legislation requirements for cities to do. And that's just to determine what the contamination levels are. And Kara mentioned that it's not required of cities to put in place a form of enforcement. However, it does fall on the jurisdiction for compliance. So if our businesses and residents or whatnot are not complying, it does fall back on us. So if we don't have a means to enforce these rules, then it really puts us at a disadvantage to be able to maintain compliance with this legislation. So, but as far as the audits, they are an anonymous audit. We're not going to. It's just a sample of certain areas of town on different seasons, and it's a combination. So,
Jeremy, I have a question for you. So is it fair to say that over time, educating folks versus finding them right away is preferably better, trying to get everybody to try, because as everybody made points here, it's going to be difficult adjusting to these type of things without getting fined. People are going to be nervous, and it's just going to take some time, I believe.
When we set the water conservation target structure in place, we didn't actually fine anybody monetarily for the first 2 years. Everything was education and outreach. And that's the same with this program. It's going to be education and outreach for a very long time. What the fine structure gives us the ability to do is for example, Tony and I went for a drive a couple of weeks ago and on a trash pickup day, and there are garbage cans that are completely full of wood products that should be in the organics can. What the structure does, it gives us the ability to go talk to the resident, give them the educational material and tell them this belongs in the green toter and this is why. If it continues, that's where that structure comes in. But for the most part, the program is about education and outreach. The audit program is at random. We're going to pick 40 addresses. The trucks are going to come through, pick those up, take them and dump the trash and give us the analysis to help determine where we need to emphasize our education and our outreach program.
So that's not something that you're doing just to target residents. You're just
We're not targeting anybody. Right.
Help Bertolotti.
Yeah. And then the other part of the structure too is to help us with the illegal dump, the grass clippings in the street, all of that. That's what these give us the ability to do. If we have a little bit of leeway, and Tony and I talk about this a lot, but I truly believe that the third can, the green toter being placed out there for organics, will alleviate a lot of our nuisance materials, the grass clippings, the leaf piles and stuff like that on the streets. I really do believe they'll take care of a lot of those issues. There's still going to be some. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be perfect.
I guess we'll find out once it happens and we start seeing the results from that.
We need numbers.
I will try. I will try to do my best. Thank you. Anybody else?
Director, so I just want to be clear on the biannual assessments. 40 locations, regular trash truck picks it up?
Correct.
So we don't really know which address is which trash.
They're random, and this is
Well, but to
honestly,
go back and assess the garbage, you really don't know which.
correct. We dump it, we take all 40 locations, we dump it on a concrete slab. It gets sorted there. The analysis comes back to us that tells us of what you're considering 100% trash that we brought in, actually, 20% what should have been in the organics, that type of thing. And then it gives us the ability to start targeting the residents for education and outreach on where we should be emphasizing our efforts.
So how long does that process take? The auditing, because if you're going to come and take someone's garbage can on, say.
That's all we're doing. It's a trash day, and as all we're doing is there's gonna be a dedicated truck to just pick up these 40 locations, and they're not taking the trash can
Oh,
with them.
okay. All
They're
right.
dumping it in the packer, and they're going to the next location.
Thank
So
you.
you won't be leaving won't
Thank
be
you.
taking your trash can.
Council have any more questions? Yes, we're going to go ahead and open this to the public, and let's start off with Zoom.
Brandt, Mr. Brandt, I will unmute your mic.
Well, thank you. I forgot I raised my hand, and Councilwoman Rhino already answered or asked my question about my neighbor stuffing my can with his garbage and it getting mixed up. I can see that where it's going to be an educational curve. And it was nice to hear Jeremy say, talk about, the water fines and things like that, and, the first couple of years. I really think it's going to benefit us all in the long run. Maybe not so much for me because I'm 70 years old and I'm going to die soon. But the kids, it's going to help them out. And, I really think it's going to be, beneficial all the way around. And it might be a business opportunity to somebody. And I don't know if it's going to be possible because I understand about the plastic bags because we use them right now. We use them in our trash cans or in the house, and then we take it out and we put it in the garbage can. Well, I'm understanding that plastic bag is not recyclable, but it sounds to me like somebody could build a better mousetrap and build I don't want to use the word plastic, but another bag that is strong enough that is recyclable. You see what I'm saying? Like a big paper bag. We have paper bags from the COVID, like from Save Mart. I've got probably 30 paper bags, but they're not very big, but they are recyclable, but, like I said earlier, thank you, Councilmember Rhino, for asking and answering my question. And like I said, it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be interesting. So thank you very much. And I do like the idea about putting the cans behind the fences or out of sight. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Anybody else?
There are no other hands raised.
Do we have anybody here in the public?
He said Lee.
Go ahead and step up.
He said my name. He said Lee. You said thanks, Lee.
Diane, would you want to mute Mr. Brandt? Thank you.
Uniquely serious. I'm going to address this to Mr. Donis. Some of the things you mentioned tonight about garbage cans over full and stuff in the streets, I believe you said something about that too. I've talked to some of the drivers in my area about those issues, and I kind of got them a little upset, especially when people are throwing, mulch type grass in the gutter with a few little twigs, and they don't have the ability to take it to their own garbage can and dump it. And Bertolotti has always picked everything up that I can think of, that's like that in the streets. And the gentleman got mad at me. He said, well, if I don't pick it up, then they won't find a job for me and I'll be out of a job. And I said, well, that's not the idea, but the idea is to keep the city clean. He goes, well, that's what I'm doing. I said, well, nobody's learning nothing when you do that. So, and I think sometime back, maybe not presently, with the thing that comes out every year with the pickup dates on the garbage. It used to be in the past, I don't recall looking at it lately, but there was a thing saying that if your Bertolotti said in one of those pamphlets was written that if you had overfilled garbage can, we will not pick it up. But they continue to pick it up anyway. And like you said, some of that garbage goes down the street or wherever when it's windy or even when it's not windy. And it just accumulates after a while. I don't know what Bertolotti's got in store for this new system that's coming in. And I'd like to know too, Mr. Downs, I know you're very busy all the time. All the people that construct the city have a lot of things to do every day and very overwhelming, I'm sure. But I would like to know, is California the only state that's doing this?
This legislation in particular is California.
So I know,
legislation,
like I
so.
said, everybody's got, very compiling jobs and a lot of things to look at every day. So these things might not be something that comes across, but are we the only state in the union that's doing this?
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty simple when you get one to be yes or no.
Yeah.
All right, I'm curious. I mean, are we setting some kind of pattern here and we're the only state? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Okay. Public comment hearing is now closed.
Yeah, so one of the things, Mayor Lopez, council members, that we really want the direction on is what we talked about cart collection storage. So for decades previous to the latest municipal code update, it was required that those cans be stored behind the fence and out of public view. The council in their last update in 2019 changed those standards, some of those that Councilperson Rhino mentioned. And so we just want that direction so that we can make the appropriate correction when we do this code update this evening. So that's one of the pieces that we will need from the council tonight.
Council, I know we had discussion in the goal settings. If you would everybody want to speak on this?
I'll go first. In the goal session, we seemed like we were all on the same page that we would like to see the cans out of view and not to make specific recommendations on fences, garages, just out of view from the street.
I concur.
Councilmember Rhino?
I concur, as I did the previous council okayed letting them be in front. I voted against that. I believe they need to be out of sight.
I vote either way, but I support the council on this move. There you go.
So we need to move on that, or is that just a recommendation to update the municipal code language so that when we do have a vote on the diocese, it's correct?
Yeah, I think that can just be part of the motion to make sure that the cans are out of public view when you make a motion to adopt these changes that we presented this evening.
We can make a motion now.
Well, I would like to say, I don't feel comfortable voting to affirm this with the current fine structure, especially if they're not required. We could always bring this back 2 years to implement the fines. Since a 2-year grace period for education, I think that's great. And then we can implement the fines in 2 years.
But what if we have someone within that 2-year period that is the habitual offender? I mean, Public Works could, prior to that 2 years, they could find them if he asked it. They aren't required, but if we have someone that they've given notice to and they've given notice to, there's been outreach to education and they still continue to do it, we need to have something to do to get their attention, I believe.
I would be open to a habitual offender amendment, but I'm not comfortable with the current fine structure to go in place and then us not have it on the books for 2 years and not really enforce it. I think that's a bad habit to get into.
Well, is that what you're saying, Mr. Damas, is that we are not going to enforce it for 2 years?
No.
No.
The enforcement will begin the day that the code goes into place.
Right.
You know, the education and outreach begins that day. And if we have residents or commercial account holders, I know that there's two handfuls of them that are habitual today. So it's the habitual ones that the fine structure goes with. The general, household that is out mowing their lawn once a week and every once in a while puts his grass clippings out and forgets, we issue courtesies and warnings at that time. I get all the reports, Tony and I are going to see, after 8 or 10 of those, okay, we need to increase it a little bit. But for the first 1 or 2, no, that's not what this is about. This isn't a revenue generator. This is having the ability to curb some of the issues that are going on.
So even though at one point it sounded like there would be no enforcement for 2 years, there truly is going to be enforcement.
Yeah, this gives us the ability to, if we have someone that's habitual at it, whether it's the illegal dumping, it's the grass clippings in the street, it's there could be commercial account holders, we don't know. But this gives us the ability to enforce the code. For the most part, it's going to be education and outreach. I do believe that. It was the same with water conservation, but there are some that you have to attack them a little differently.
Is there a possibility there'd be like a timeline where, let's just say the first 6 months, it's more of an educational thing, that you really start enforcing it after that?
Oh yeah, it's, we're not going to give anybody, we can't, out of the gate say that you're habitual within month 1.
Right.
It's going to be at least 6 months before anybody sees anything, but there's be warnings and violation or warnings, the courtesy notices and warnings up to the 6-month window. And we'll include it as part of our monthly reports to you as well. So you'll be able to see all of it. And anytime there'll be a monetary, we'll include all those reports like we do for water conservation.
Appreciate that.
Couple things. Obviously, the test 40 address thing, no fines are going to come out of that. Everybody's trash can be dumped on the same path. So that's out of the whole fine structure, other than giving the ability to target the areas of town where possibly more education needs to happen. And I'm totally in favor of this if the fine structure, warnings and everything start at the very beginning. I believe the legislation, what she was saying, it tells us we don't have to start it for 2 years till 2024, but it gives us ability to do it. And if we're going to do it, I'd fully support it.
Okay, so you just want direction.
Are you good, Nick?
No, this is a public hearing, so we need a motion and approval.
Let's go ahead and we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the public hearing number 12, public hearing to consider introduction of ordinance and first reading of the ordinances listed on the agenda.
With the modification to the visibility of the cans.
With the modification to the current municipal code that all 3 cans at all addresses must be out of sight from the street.
Second.
Get a roll call, please.
Reno?
Yes.
Councilmember Silvera?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit?
No.
And Mayor Lopez?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1.
Okay. Moving on to discussion item number 13. Contract for fire services discussion. Chief Bado, I believe you have a presentation, is that correct?
Good
Can
evening.
Can I ask a question first? I've asked this twice previously, and I will ask again, that the council decided unanimously that we could not appoint a planning commissioner nor a Measure 8 committee member until we had a full council. So I wonder why the council is okay with even discussing regionalization until we have 5 council members. I mean, to me, regionalization is a lot bigger issue than who is on the planning commission and who is on Measure H. And I think the discussion needs to be held after our 5th council member is brought on board in September.
Thank you, Ms. Rhino. You ready for your presentation?
Our regionalization contract for fire services. At the March 8th City Council meeting, council authorized staff to explore contract for fire service options. We have been working daily on the project, and tonight we will give you a review of purpose and status update on our work. Small departments such as ours struggle to meet the ever-increasing demands of an all-risk fire department. Partnerships, joint staffed engines, closest resource response, borderless boundaries, resource sharing, contracts for services are all forms of regionalizations. Some we entered into years ago, such as the agreements our city holds with the Industrial Fire Protection District and the Ceres Fire Protection District. We continue to transition from independently proud standalone agencies that rarely crossed the jurisdictional lines and felt we did it better than the others to today, through change, some by choice, some by circumstance, and working together, we have improved services, providing significant benefits to our citizens and increased safety to our firefighters. As firefighters, we embrace and continue to build on regionalization with the concept of United We Stand. Background: to share a personal experience, I had the opportunity to lead a small department with inadequate staffing and administration. It was a daily juggling act to attempt to meet the needs of the community and ensure a safe work environment for the team, just as a Ceres fire chief is expected to cover the workload of 3 chief officers. This just can't be done successfully. It is not healthy for the individual attempting to meet this demand or the community served because needs are not being met regardless of the excessive number of hours and commitment by staff. Our battalion chiefs are spending most of their day covering what a 40-hour chief officer should be doing and taking away from the primary responsibility of managing their resources, mentoring, and fostering the growth of the team they lead. Our administration is understaffed and unable to meet our obligations. Our new truck, called the Quint, it is a pumper, carries hose, water, and is an aerial device. This is a specialized resource with many capabilities. We used to staff our engines with 2 firefighters and increase the minimum staffing to 3, providing greater company capabilities and firefighter safety. As with the engine, increasing staffing to that of a 4-member truck company greatly increases the capabilities of the specialized resource. The tasks that can be accomplished on the fire ground are significantly increased. The task that this company acting as a sole resource on an incident is improved. Whether we are in a contract or remain a traditional Ceres fire department, staffing the specialized resource with 4 firefighters at a minimum is the goal that we should strive for. Project focused. The number one goal in this project is to provide the greatest level of service to this community within our fiscal constraints. It is our responsibility to provide our elected officials the facts and details to make an informed decision on service delivery options. The second goal is the health and welfare of our team members. The impact of such a structural change from a traditional Ceres fire department on our team members is significant. If this change is to occur, it is a life-changing event for our team. This is similar to the personal impact of a marriage, divorce, new job, becoming a new parent, and/or the loss of someone close. We understand the stress, confusion, and tension that the process of change has on each of our members and their families. Part of the problem is a lack of information available to share and the time it takes to work through the process. However, we are a team united and are working together exploring these service delivery options. Contract provides day one. The advantages of a fully staffed administrative team are significant. Having a shared regional administrative team provides for focus in each area of responsibility as identified in this slide. Day one of a contract will provide a staffed fire prevention division with a fire marshal, inspectors, and support staff to provide an aggressive life safety program to this community. An operations chief overseeing and directing field response resources, exploring and implementing new strategies and tactics in our ever-changing world of added new responsibilities. An EMS program managed by a division chief and with staff to raise a level of service provided to our community by our firefighters to that of paramedic advanced life support. Day one, we will have a 40-hour workweek battalion chief overseeing and managing special operations of water rescue and technical rescue. Our Quint, a specialized resource, will be staffed with 4 firefighters, increasing the number of firefighters on duty daily in our city. I mentioned that during the peak of the COVID pandemic, one of our battalion chiefs worked 16 shifts consecutively. With the combined depth of a regional system, this will not happen. Ancillary support services. Our fire administration is staffed by 1 administrative secretary, who, by the way, does an outstanding job, and the fire chief. We must give recognition and thanks to the battalion chiefs, captains, engineers, and firefighters who are all going above and beyond, taking on responsibilities that should be assigned to a 40-hour administrative team. Ancillary support services in our regional administrative team has a depth of support in each department, including City Hall with human resources, finance, administration, legal, and risk management, and is attained day one. Adding our membership through a contract is a minimal impact. As mentioned before, an appropriate sized administrative team can manage 20 stations as easily as 10. I don't want to imply that our own series administrative team is by any way less skilled or providing any less services. It is exactly the opposite, with each member in each department doing more with less. A contract for fire services reduces the workload for this team and will provide some relief. Operational efficiencies. Paramedic advanced life support. We can tag on to an existing program already built. It would be a quick implementation. Increasing staffing to 4 on our truck. Participating in a developed water rescue program, a developed fire prevention program with an additional inspector. We have full-time training officers. Fleet maintenance with field response coverage. I believe that's about 22 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hazardous materials and technical rescue program and involvement by our firefighters. This is a reduction of duplication of efforts and improved efficiencies in all areas of responsibility. Thank you. Per City Council direction, we approached the Stanislaus Consolidated Fire Protection District to seek interest in providing a contract proposal, and their response was not interested at this time. We have been working together with the Modesto Fire team to identify options for contract services. All options that will be presented will include a division chief, battalion chief maintaining our Battalion 3 operated out of the series headquarters, a fire inspector, and a fire investigator. The emergency medical service system is developing and changing by the day. There are many new opportunities, both fiscally and operationally, for increasing service levels, essentially increasing our engine company's capabilities to that of paramedic advanced life support. If we attempted to do this on our own, develop a new series program, it would take a year, excessive time commitment from staff, and a much greater expense to implement than an almost immediate service enhancement within a contract. Part of the delay in our project was due to identifying our own series traditional projected 2021-2022 budget. Once this proposed budget was identified, we were able to develop projections for 5 years for comparisons with contract costs. We made contact with Stan Sarah, and through a Teams meeting, we asked questions and obtained detailed information that was of value for both the firefighters and city. We did request an actuarial from Sansera, but after a $15,000 to $40,000 estimated cost for this, we canceled our request. The Firefighters Association had representation in this meeting and received answers to their questions. We identified cost in addition to the contract for services proposals cost. These reoccurring annual costs will be part of a revised fire department budget and include our apparatus debt payment of $304,000 annually. The payoff of our new apparatus is $2.3 million and would save $373,000 in interest if we were to pay that off. We identified fleet replacement cost. We have included annual funding to maintain replacing our support and staff vehicles. We have not included apparatus replacement funding. This should be considered after the apparatus debt is paid off. We identified fire station utility cost, gas, electricity, and water. Identified the unfunded accrued liabilities with Sansera, a $737,000 expense. Identified dispatch fees with Stanislaus Regional 911. Identified facility maintenance cost as this service is expected to remain with the City of Ceres. We held an introductory meeting with both Modesto Fire Department and Ceres Fire Department Association presidents and discussed the project, steps, challenges, and opportunities. Modesto Chief Alan Ernst and I met with our firefighters as a whole and provided information and addressed questions. We held a meeting with our battalion chiefs and several of the Modesto battalion chiefs, along with the command staff, to provide information and address questions and concerns. The executive boards of the associations met and discussed concerns. We requested and held a meeting with representatives of Sansera, which provided answers to our many questions. We have asked and have been provided feedback from our city departments as to the impact of contracting for fire services. Work remaining. We have reviewed the Oakdale's contract for services with Modesto and have modified this document with very specific details. We are working together with the Modesto Fire Department in completing the draft contract. Our Human Resource Department is working to address the transition deals for our firefighters. We are preparing to review our 5-year budget projections in order to compare similar service levels. Assumptions that will be included in the comparison summary are the additions of adding an administrative battalion chief, EMS training coordinator in year 1, adding 3 firefighters, bringing the quint up to minimal desired staffing level in year 2, and adding the deputy chief fire marshal in year 3. We are finalizing the proposal with options for city council consideration. We will draft the staff report and resolution, and our expectations are to bring proposals back to this council at the June 14th meeting. In attendance this evening is Acting Captain Jeremy Hackett, the Ceres Professional Firefighters Local 3636 President, and Modesto Chief Alan Ernst. Each will have an opportunity for comment. Acting Captain Hackett.
Thank you, Chief Votto. City Council, as the local president and person that has been chosen to attend all these meetings, first off, I want to thank both fire chiefs and Mr. Westbrook for always answering your phone, always being able to get the information that we needed to our members. After a lot of meetings, a lot of hours spent breaking down the facts, what's best for the city, how we can better serve the citizens of the Ceres by making this transition to a regional fire agency. We took a strong look at that, a strong look at the benefits to our members and being able to get days off and being able to relieve the stress of working multiple shifts over and over. With that, we took a vote as a membership. We voted 19-5, 85% in favor of moving forward with this. So as that, we stand behind this wholeheartedly as one voice, as one group, to continue pushing forward for the betterment of the city so we can provide the best service possible.
All right, good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Alan Ernst. Proud to serve as the fire chief for the City of Modesto Fire Department. I'm also very proud to serve as the fire chief for the contracted service agreements we have with the City of Oakdale and the Oakdale Fire Protection District. I just want to be here tonight to show my support for this process. And regionalization is something that I believe wholeheartedly in, that we are stronger together than we are apart. Two goals of mine in regionalization is improve the safety of our community and improve the safety of our firefighters. And I think we've done that throughout our partnerships already with the city of Ceres, and I look forward to exploring that further. And with that, I'll turn it back over.
That concludes our update.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
I have a question for my colleagues. Is anyone else open to the 5-year plan?
That's what you guys are proposing, is 5 years?
Well, no, I'm talking about the 5-year plan for our own department to add a battalion chief this year. It was in one of the slides. Additional firefighters the next year and additional administrative staff the next year, I believe, was the suggestion slideshow. So is anyone open to that? To building our own fire department, which actually is a goal in our general plan. That'd be goal 6.K.5, ensure adequate funding for fire services, which our interim chief Botto has said the city is currently not providing adequate fire services.
First of all, on your slide in the 5-year plan, I'm not following what you're saying. I believe that slide addressed 5-year plan or contract with Modesto Fire and regionalization.
No, I think it was a 5-year plan with us, the budget.
Chief Botto, can you clear that up for us, please?
Sure. When we're looking at a contract, our proposals are a 5-year term. So we needed to put together a plan that compares what our own traditional budget would look like for 5 years. We had to put in some assumptions. Today, with our proposed budget, we have adding a battalion chief EMS training coordinator. So in projecting a comparison for next year, we would add 3 firefighters to our budget. And then on year 3, we would hire a deputy chief fire marshal. After that, we have not added any new positions within the organization for year 4 and year 5. Again, those are assumptions. Will the city actually hire those 3 firefighters in year 2? We don't know. We probably wouldn't get there until budget time next year. Will you hire a deputy chief fire marshal in year 3? Will the funding be there, or will those funds be needed elsewhere? And what we're trying to do is compare what you get day 1 in a contract starting off as soon as that contract is implemented. It'll take us 3 years just to get to a level, and it's still not comparable to what you'll have in a contract. And we'll bring back that on June 14th and provide the cost analysis with that. Did that answer your question?
Thank you for clearing that up. That was my mistake.
Vice Mayor, just to answer your question, if it was possible, I still don't think that we would be able to do what this regionalization would do. And I just coming here, realizing some of the setbacks that we've had, I've seen that our fire department has been doing everything that they can. I believe regionalization is not only going to benefit the city, but the citizens when it comes to services. Although I see where you're coming from as an idea if this doesn't fall through, but I think that this is the best move, personally.
And I would agree with the vice mayor that I think we need to look at a 5-year plan, just like we did when we decided we were going to finally purchase new apparatus. And then we finally did a vehicle and apparatus replacement program. We talked about it for years. We're finally doing that again. But one thing I can say, in 38 years that I've lived here as an adult, that I have never, ever heard anyone in the community say that our fire department was lacking, ever, ever, never. Everyone has been very happy with what they have done for us. And when I look at what regionalization will do, and it's going to bump up administration, I mean, is that really what the community wants? They want more chiefs than engines? I don't believe so. And when I see something about a training coordinator, well, the MOU we have for the training facility says Modesto's already providing two training coordinators that track certification for all of our firefighters as it is. So to make it sound like we're lacking in that, we already have an agreement for that. And then to have the deputy chief that's going to be a fire marshal, well, why do we need another person to do that? Why couldn't you have, if you needed an admin BC, why couldn't they do that? And I had asked Mr. Westbrook, because we have a new position in our budget for an administrative BC, if that would be taking care of the fire marshal duties instead of hiring out like we're doing now, and he said no. So it's almost like we're going to have all these chiefs, but how is that providing a better service to our community? I don't think it is.
Votto, could you answer that question?
Sure. Some things we pointed out, again, increasing our staffing for the truck. Those are the Indians, not the chiefs. We do need administrative staff. You can call them whatever you want to call them, but we need people to do the work. We need people to look at the agreements that are in place with the Ceres Fire District and the Industrial Fire District. Those have been in place for years. They need to be reviewed, analyzed. We need to work with the county and look at funding for the replacement of the Pecos station. We need to do a standards of coverage program, and that needs to be done collectively with our adjoining cities and shared cost on that, and look at where we're going to place our next station. There's a great deal of short-term and long-term planning that needs to take place. It's not happening. You don't have the staff to do it. I did fire prevention as a fire marshal for 7 years, and I can tell you our program here is lacking. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed, that there's just no staff to do it. And you need to develop that program. The problem with it is, in a small department, we are a small department, we cannot cover all of our bases. We are not going to ever be large enough in an administrative team to do what we need to do. And that's why joining forces, having a very strong, solid administrative team to lead, again, 10 stations or 20 stations, it doesn't matter. When you add the stations to a solid team, it's not a big deal. But trying to struggle to meet our requirements, our needs, and ensure the safety of our community and our team, we're fighting a losing battle, and we've been fighting it for a long time here. And I'm not discounting the dedication and the commitment by all of our members. It's fantastic. Everybody has stepped up. Your battalion chiefs I have never seen so many people put in so many hours off duty to try to make it work. And all of our line members are stepping up and doing a great deal of extra work. We need to give them some relief. We need to build a better system, and we have an opportunity here to build a better system. I would encourage you to at least allow us to bring back those proposals, see what the numbers are, and we can expand on the depth of the organization and what it provides. Again, we had a battalion chief working 16 consecutive shifts because there was nobody else to fill those shifts.
And again, I'm going to ask my fellow council members why you are willing to make this decision without a full council. It's a big deal for the city to go from the local fire department we've had to regionalization, and for not to wait until September when we get our 5th person just makes absolutely no sense to me, that you're not going to wait for the 5th person.
Okay, my turn. time's now, the time's right. I understand what you're saying, Councilmember Rhino, about some of the other decisions we've had and have not been able to make, not having the fifth person. Where we stand right now, listen, I've lived here for most of my life also. Ceres has almost 50,000 people. We're just not a small town anymore. Third largest town in Stanislaus County. Other towns that are our size have regionalization or all of the things that are spelled out in the presentation already on board in towns of our size. In my opinion, just simply the increase in level of service, in my estimation of 30 to 40% with inspectors and all the different programs, water programs, all the stuff that was on the presentation, without anything else, makes it, and like I said, use this phrase too much, a no-brainer. We get to keep our equipment that we purchase. It's not going to be Modesto Fire's equipment. We're going to have our firefighters here in Ceres that are currently working Ceres. We may save some money. We may save some significant amounts of money, excuse me. And then most important to me is the guys that are on the ground, the ladies are on the ground, the people that are on the ground voted overwhelmingly to support going with regionalization. 50,000 people. We are not small town America anymore. We need to do business like a 50,000 person town is. And if regionalization in fire is what gets us to that point with our increased level of services, the potential to save money, our firefighters are on board with it. Like Chief Ernst said, we're stronger together than we're apart. Thank you.
I can remember when the firefighters were all on board with going with Consolidated, and then Consolidated had a problem and it kind of imploded, and then all of a sudden they were glad they didn't go because there were layoffs and all kinds of things. With that said, you, Councilmember Silvera, like to use the term, it's a no-brainer. I don't really understand what that means. It's a no-brainer. So I'm disagreeing with you. Does that mean I'm stupid? I don't know what no-brainer means when you say that.
Well, the best I could say it in my terms, because I guess it's the term I use a lot. In my opinion, whatever I say that about, I'm 100% supporting of it. It
Then
has
maybe
nothing to do
you
with
should
you
maybe
and
you
how
should
you
say
feel.
that instead of saying it's a no-brainer, because
That's
to
my
me,
way. We all have our way. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, I just
I,
have,
I have additional questions for the chief.
go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Is business inspections included in the service that Modesto will provide?
Good evening, council member. Yes. So part of the contract that we are forming is a full service contract, all risk fire department and full service administrative support. So not only do you get the chief officer support, you also get the administrative support and the field inspector. This contract will most likely add one field inspector dedicated solely to City of Ceres, but we have 6 fire inspectors that share the workload throughout our organization. So at any given time, if there is a certain area in the city of Ceres that needs extra help, we can dedicate more resources down here.
And that includes fire prevention, business inspections, and weed and lot abatement?
Correct.
And just wondering, are there any mandated positions currently in the city of Modesto for firefighters?
I'm not sure if I follow the mandated.
Like Chief Otto said last year when we had COVID hit our department and one of our battalion chiefs had to work 16 days straight. Is that a problem that you guys face in Modesto?
Well, I think COVID has hit all of us very, very hard with the staffing challenges with quarantine. We do have a greater depth of personnel. We still have the staffing challenges that other organizations have. However, with that depth, it's not burdened on just one individual or a small group of individuals shared across that. So we do have instances, and we've ran a vacancy rate purposely in the city of Modesto for budget purposes this last year with the fear of COVID and what those impacts would be. And so our firefighters stepped up and took on that challenge. We have minimum staffing requirements. So all the apparatus are staffed every day. And so there were occasions and many occasions where firefighters are mandated to work. However, they also signed up to work as well.
And it's usually for a 4-team company.
For the engine company
Yes, sir.
or truck company. So 3 on our engines and 4 on our truck. And so if one of those positions is out for the day, then we fill it with overtime and backfill that.
Okay, thank you.
With this discussion item, Tom, there is no direction. This is just basically information only for us and on June.
Yeah, this is
what day?
information only
Okay.
at this point in time. You could open it up to any public members that may wish to ask questions or comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak?
We have Lee Brandt. Brandt, I'll unmute.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Councilperson Rhino that I believe that there should be a full council before this is voted on or taken on. Being I live in District 1, I don't feel as that I am represented on the council. And also, there's always 2 sides to every story. And I've heard both presentations that the fire department's put on, and it's all positive, positive, positive. But I would like to maybe, I don't know if you can bring somebody in or whatever to hear the negative end of everything, and I'm pretty sure the reason that the firefighters are all for it is because they're probably going to get a raise. It's like I said, there's 2 sides to every story, and Councilperson Condit, he has raised a couple of questions. We've been here for probably an hour listening to this, and it's a beautiful presentation. But, when it comes down to it, I think the problem would be, and this is just my opinion, is that Ceres would be losing part of its identity. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
There are no other hands raised.
Any members in the public that would like to speak? Okay, thank you. Is this it for the discussion item? Are we?
Yeah, so at
gonna
this
move on?
point, I mean, as Chief Botto indicated, unless told otherwise, we're going to proceed with the contract and bring it back at the meeting, hopefully on June 14th.
Yeah, there's a great opportunity to discuss this further for sure. Thank you. Okay, moving on to council referrals. Last meeting, I brought up Chapter 10, Title 5, Mobile Food Vendors, in particular 5.1040, General Development and Operational Standards for Mobile Food Vendors, use of parking space. I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't necessarily the parking spaces that I was looking for to change. It was just the ability for the taco trucks in town, if they wanted to set up a table and chair temporarily while they're operational, and then put it away when they were done. I don't think the goal is of mine to kind of do what Crow's Landing is doing, any of that sorts. I want to create our own culture, but this will give some of these businesses that choose the opportunity to have tables and chairs for their customers. I think it would be a good benefit. And I just want to be able to have the opportunity to put this on the city council agenda next time so we can discuss further.
So are you asking if we want to move forward or an automatic?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. I want to just see if we can put this on the next agenda so we can discuss further and hopefully change that portion of it.
No. And the reason I would say no is it almost feels like we have to revisit things that the previous council did in the last year, the last 18 months. And it just seems like we're spending a lot of time doing that instead of moving forward and finding out talking about.
But just like the garbage issue, I mean, with new council members comes new policy changes. If it benefits the city of Ceres, I think it's a great idea. And that's the reason why I feel it's a good thing for the city councilors to bring new policies. And if they want to change things, I think it's pretty much one of our jobs to do. So, I mean, obviously, you're going to have your opinion on it, and I respectfully do appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. Council?
I support the mobile food vendors in a limited amount in our city, but I do not support them setting up tables, chairs, awnings, et cetera, even when they're open. At this time, I'm still in the test mode idea of having mobile vendors in our city. So I would have to say no to this point if that's that's the clarification you were asking for.
Okay, well, I guess this dies here. Thank you very much, Council. The second one, number 2, Chapter 17, Title 5, sidewalk vending in particular, 5.1740, the permanent application, proof of comprehensive general liability insurance. I would like to remove that liability insurance, just being that there's some of these vendors who are trying to do it the right way, might have, this might cost them too much to have this liability insurance, and I believe we'd be better off if we remove liability insurance. If the council agrees to have this for further discussion at the next meeting.
Are they on the city sidewalk when they're doing their mobile vending?
Well, this, Tom Westbrook, this applies to,
Sidewalk vending, I
Sidewalk
know.
vending,
It's
correct.
the ones that have the juice and the fruit.
for those seeking permits to do it the right way.
Okay,
And then,
and they're on the side,
right.
they're on our city sidewalk, so they should have liability insurance.
The reason why I feel that it's best that they don't have the insurance is so that way they're not limited. We're trying to make it easier for these vendors to get a permit and
Well,
and this
that's
liability insurance.
true, but they're also on the city sidewalk, and I believe they should have liability insurance.
I think the cost impact is what's deterring some of them to do it the right way. Not saying that that's the only reason, but I believe if we remove that, that would give some of these entrepreneurs an opportunity to not only pay for the permit, but also make it easy for them. Council?
Now, I agree with both of you somewhat. Councilman Rhino, obviously those are, if they're on city property, then the liability falls on the city. And we should, they should have to have some type of insurance. Like most places that you go nowadays, you have to provide that insurance. Now, I am open to looking at the amount of insurance they're required to have, and if that's excessive. So maybe the next meeting wouldn't be the best time to bring that back to the council. Maybe we could have city staff do some research on whether our expectations are excessive or if they're in line with everywhere else, and then maybe revisit this at that point.
So if I can jump in here, the current code requirements suggest that there's $1 million liability coverage for a vendor of this type.
Yeah, and me and not being in the insurance business and liability business, I wouldn't have any idea if that's excessive or reasonable or normal. I think that would be something that would be important to have some research done on. If I'm not asking too much.
I say that's fair. If we can come to some agreements.
Yeah, I concur with my colleagues. I'd like to hear it.
For the perspective of the upcoming meetings, if I could request perhaps the council maybe delay this to the second one. The next meeting is likely to have regionalization and the budget. Those are going to be pretty heavy lifts for staff. So this could possibly be moved to the 28th if it's going to move forward. That would help staff get enough time to prepare.
Sounds good to me.
Makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And that is it for me. Moving on to reports. I have no reports. City Council?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to report that SRWA is currently looking into the governor's $5.1 billion water infrastructure package to apply for additional state funding for the project. And I will be holding office hours here at the community center on June 12th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
I have a question for staff. As we all know, our last meeting, we had a citizen who also had some activists with her that were making allegations against city staff, specifically our police officers. And I wanted to know, I know that at the time that they make those comments, that we can't respond because it's not on the agenda. Now that those comments have been made, are we going to do some kind of a response to the allegations? And I know there's a juvenile involved. We did not mention the child's name, what happened to him. The mom provided that information to everybody that was in this room. She provided it on Zoom. She put that information out there. She made the comment there was a body cam. I want to know why, when there are, say, an officer-involved shooting, that body cams can be released. So I would hope that this mother would be willing to sign a statement that we could share the body cam at a future meeting, because I'm sure she wants the truth out just like we do. But it upsets me when anybody can make that kind of a comments against any of our staff, and that we can't respond to it.
I can tell you that the city manager and I had an opportunity to share the video with the advocates with the mother's permission. And I'm going to speak in generalities that protect the confidentiality of the juvenile and the case. I can assure you that our officers do not need to be held accountable for any of their actions that happened on that day.
Okay,
And-
but
and-
at
and
what,
to
but at
follow-
what, but at what point does the city come out and publicly say that? Because how many people were in the room that heard that comment? Her allegation wasn't just one allegation, there were many. And then again, she made it so people could hear it Zoom. So now it almost makes it sound like whatever her allegations were, that it's true. So does the city not come out and make any kind of a comment?
No, I anticipate after the case has been adjudicated, or if the mother would sign permission, as she did before, to have the video released, then we could do that from a safe standpoint.
Well, I would like the city to reach out to the mother, because the mother wants the truth to be known as well, and allow our city to make a response instead of everyone just assuming that the allegations were true. I just think that we as a city should have the right to make some kind of a response. Thank you.
Thank you. Council. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Lopez, council members. I wanted to thank, somebody touched on it earlier, but I wanted to thank all the individuals that came out to the beautification committee's cleanup. There were some beautification committee members there, in addition to Mayor Lopez and Councilmember Silvera. Chance Condit was able to participate in that. We had about 35 volunteers. We made some pretty good aggressive sweeps through the park and cleaned up a lot of the trash. So I want to thank everybody that was able to make it out last Saturday.
Thank you, Tom. No comment. Departments, any?
Yes, Mayor, I had just an update for you. Had the opportunity to read several shift logs over the past couple of weeks, and activities are increasing as the weather gets better, and our officers are doing a fantastic job making some good decisions, kind of in line where that's going to keep the city safe. I also want to recognize and applaud the dispatchers who have been working very, very, very hard. Um, 12, 13-hour days, 6 days on, 2 days off, because we are severely understaffed. Although we have plans in motion and people in the pipeline to alleviate some of that stress, they are continuing to do a phenomenal job. In fact, we have one sergeant and one traffic officer who the sergeant did have previous dispatcher training, and he inserted himself to help alleviate some of that stress. And one of our traffic officers, self-taught, put himself in there, and now he is able to function as a dispatcher, and that is helping them as well. So I just wanted to take the time to recognize their efforts and let them know that it has not gone unnoticed.
Thank you, Chief.
So I have something, Mayor.
Yes.
So one of our consultants, Water Quality and Treatment Solutions, is currently under contract to perform a study of the water system. And it's really dependent on the surface water integrated into the city's water system, and it has to do with the corrosion of the water. So the water system is built on a groundwater system only that has a significant amount of hard water deposits. When we integrate the surface water system, the challenge will be for staff is that the water is less corrosive. So it's going to remove some of those deposits. So over the next 4 to 6 months, we'll be flushing a lot of water out on streets. Residents will be noticing a lot of water, and unfortunately, it's during a drought. But if we don't do this, we're not going to know the corrosion inhibitors that are necessary to mitigate any corrosion issues. You know, we know that there's going to be some challenges. We just really after mitigating as many as we can. The surface water plant is due to be online April, May of 2023. Our goal with this project is to be completed around fall of next year. With that in line is for the engineers and staff's project for the storage tank to come in service as well. We can submit this project here will help all the supporting documents to submit to the state for the permit amendment for the drinking water system. There's going to be a lot of activity in the water system for the next year, 2 years.
Thank you. Anybody else? Moving on to our county supervisor representative.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want you to know we don't have Assistant Mike Getters at the county. That's an unpaid position. I don't want that to be lost anywhere. But my name is Russell Richards Fowler. I have the privilege of working for Supervisor Conda, the residents of District 5. Just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Tom said. We appreciate all the support and those who are out there at the community cleanup. That was really great turnout. Great to see the community as involved as they were. Look forward to the next one. And then I also wanted to say, hope everyone has a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. But most importantly, take some time, if you can, to think about those who paid the ultimate price this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now adjourn this meeting and go into a closed session for a conference with labor negotiators. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak in regards to the closed session item. Blakely, are you walking up to speak, sir? I just want to make sure. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So it looks like we're okay. We're moving on to closed session. Thank you.
Okay, on the labor negotiation item, excuse me, staff gave direction to its negotiator and related staff members on bargaining with all 6 units.